Janet Jackson, born May 16, 1966, in Gary, Indiana, grew up in a family where perfection was demanded. As the youngest of 10 children in the Jackson family, she was exposed to the complex dynamics of fame from an early age. Her father, Joe Jackson, was known for his strict and demanding nature, pushing his children to the limits to succeed in the entertainment industry. While the world saw the Jackson Five's success, Janet witnessed the darker side of fame, the pressure, the emotional toll, and the lack of true affection in the household. Growing up in this environment, Janet quickly learned that success and performance were prioritized over emotional well-being. This early exposure to harsh standards would affect her deeply throughout her life, shaping both her personal and professional struggles. Early experiences in show business, the pressure to conform. At the age of 10, Janet Jackson made her first steps into the entertainment industry, landing a role in the sitcom Good Times. For most children, this would be a dream come true, but for Janet, it came with overwhelming pressure. The producers scrutinized her appearance, discussing her body as if it were a product to be modified. She was told to lose weight, and even at such a young age, these comments had a profound effect on her. Janet started to see her body through the harsh lens of the industry's expectations, believing her natural appearance wasn't good enough. This pressure would not only affect her self-esteem, but also begin a cycle of emotional eating, where food became both a source of comfort and a cause of guilt. These early experiences set the stage for her lifelong battle with self-image and emotional health. The impact of family dynamics on Janet's mental health. Growing up in the Jackson household, Janet was exposed to more than just the pressures of the entertainment industry. She also faced a complicated relationship with her siblings, particularly with her brother Michael. While they shared a deep bond, there were moments of competition and teasing, with Michael sometimes making cruel comments about Janet's appearance. This teasing, while likely unintentional, left lasting emotional scars. Janet's relationship with her body became even more strained, and the emotional eating that had started as a coping mechanism worsened. She found herself turning to food for comfort during times of stress, which led to a cycle of shame and self-hatred. This unhealthy relationship with food would continue into adulthood, affecting her both physically and emotionally as she navigated the challenges of growing up under the spotlight. A struggle with self-worth, learning to love herself. As Janet entered her teenage years, the pressures continued to mount. With her brothers off performing and gaining international fame, Janet felt increasingly isolated. She was too young to fully participate in the music industry and too different from her peers to fit in with normal kids her age. This sense of alienation only exacerbated her feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. By the time she was a teenager, Janet was already showing signs of depression. Yet, in the Jackson family, mental health was rarely discussed, and emotional struggles were dismissed in favor of maintaining the family's image. Janet learned to hide her pain behind a smile, a skill she would carry with her throughout her career. This inability to address her emotional struggles laid the foundation for the challenges she would face later in life, both personally and professionally. The Super Bowl incident, a turning point in Janet's career. February 1st, 2004, was supposed to mark Janet Jackson's triumphant return to the Super Bowl stage, but it became a defining moment that would change the course of her career. During the halftime performance, a wardrobe malfunction exposed Janet's breast for a split second, and the backlash was swift and severe. While Justin Timberlake, who was part of the performance, faced minimal consequences, Janet became the target of intense scrutiny and public shaming. The incident sparked outrage, and Janet was subjected to harsh criticism from both the media and the public. Despite her efforts to apologize, the entertainment industry distanced itself from her, effectively blacklisting her from major platforms. The racial and gender dynamics of the backlash were impossible to ignore. Janet, a black woman, was vilified, while the male performer, Justin Timberlake, faced little to no consequences. The aftermath of the Super Bowl incident, emotional and physical toll. The aftermath of the Super Bowl incident took a devastating toll on Janet Jackson, both emotionally and physically. She became the target of public scorn, with her music banned from radio stations and her videos removed from MTV and VH1. She was even disinvited from the Grammy Awards, despite being scheduled to present an award. The industry that had once celebrated her now turned its back on her, and Janet found herself isolated and alone. The psychological impact of the public shaming was profound. The depression that had already been a part of her life deepened, and Janet turned to emotional eating to cope with the overwhelming stress. The media scrutiny only made matters worse, and Janet's mental health began to deteriorate. The weight of the public judgment exacerbated her existing health issues, leading to a dangerous cycle of emotional eating, shame, and guilt. Janet's struggle with health issues, the hidden battle. In the years following the Super Bowl incident, Janet Jackson faced a series of health problems that were exacerbated by the emotional toll of the public backlash. She experienced severe depression, which led to dangerous cycles of emotional eating and extreme weight fluctuations. By 2005, Janet's nutritionist issued a stern warning about her physical health, pointing out the risk of life-threatening metabolic disorders due to her unhealthy relationship with food. Janet's career, which had once been defined by her physical prowess and demanding choreography, now seemed to be at odds with her deteriorating health. Her weight, once a source of industry criticism, now became a symbol of her struggle with self-worth. Despite these issues, Janet continued to push herself, fearing that any sign of weakness would be exploited by the media and the industry. A health crisis, Janet faces her mortality. In 2008, Janet Jackson faced a major health crisis that forced her to confront the severity of her condition. During her Rock With You tour, she was hospitalized due to vestibular migraines, a rare condition that causes severe dizziness and balance problems. The attacks were so debilitating that she had to cancel several shows, resulting in significant financial loss. The migraines were a physical manifestation of the stress that had been building in Janet's life for years. They were a painful reminder of the toll that emotional trauma, mental health struggles, and the demands of fame had taken on her body. This health scare marked a turning point for Janet as she began to realize that she could no longer ignore the damage caused by years of stress, poor self-care, and emotional eating. Janet's secret surgery, a turning point in her health journey. In 2015, Janet Jackson shocked her fans by postponing her Unbreakable World Tour to undergo a surgical procedure. Though she did not provide details about the surgery, rumors circulated about its nature. Some speculated that she was battling cancer, but Janet clarified that she was recovering from an undisclosed health issue. Those close to her later revealed that the procedure was related to complications stemming from her cardiovascular system and metabolic problems. At 49, Janet faced a harsh reality. Her years of neglecting her physical and emotional health had caught up with her. The surgery forced her to confront her mortality, and she realized that her past struggles with food, depression, and stress had taken a severe toll on her body. This was a wake-up call that would set her on a path to healing. The grief of losing Michael, a devastating loss. On June 25, 2009, Janet Jackson received the news that would change her life forever. Her brother Michael, the king of pop, had passed away. This loss was not just personal, it was deeply existential for Janet. Michael had been not only her brother, but also her closest collaborator and confidant. They shared a unique bond, understanding the pressures of fame and the complexities of their shared family legacy. The grief of losing Michael was overwhelming, and Janet found herself retreating from public life in the months following his death. She struggled with feelings of guilt, especially over the time they had not spent together in recent years. Michael had been the one person who truly understood her artistic vision, and his death left a void that was impossible to fill. A health diagnosis that changed everything. In 2024, at the age of 58, Janet Jackson received a diagnosis that would force her to confront the cumulative toll of decades of emotional and physical neglect. Doctors informed her that her cardiovascular system was in serious decline, compounded by diabetes and the long-term effects of chronic stress. This diagnosis was a harsh reality check for Janet, who had spent her entire life pushing herself to the limit. She realized that the emotional eating, the depression, and the neglect of her physical health had led to serious consequences. But this diagnosis also marked a turning point. Janet decided that it was time to heal, not just physically but emotionally as well. She chose to prioritize self-care over the pressures of fame and to focus on healing the wounds of her past. And a new beginning, Janet's message of hope and healing. At 59, Janet Jackson is no longer the young, invincible pop star she once was. However, at 59, Janet Jackson is no longer the young, invincible pop star she once was. However, she is determined to leave behind the destructive patterns that nearly cost her life. Her journey has been one of immense struggle, but also of growth and self-discovery. Janet's final message to her fans is one of hope. It is never too late to choose healing over performance, authenticity over image, and self-care over the expectations of others. Janet's story serves as a powerful reminder that even superstars are vulnerable to the long-term effects of untreated trauma. Yet it is possible to change, to heal, and to live authentically, no matter how late in the game it may seem.